Hey partners, it's Miss Kaken. You guys ready for today's lesson? All right, so let's head into the Google Classroom and see what we're up to today. So first and foremost, hopefully you're in some Eagles wear and showing your kindness. All right, for your bell work, make sure you have finished the quiz is and quiz over Dark They Were and Golden Eyed and any work you have left in there. Next, you should have finished Danger, This Mission to Mars Could Bore You to Death, paragraphs 1 through 6, and you should have diagrammed one word. So make sure you've done that and turned it in. For today, we are going to read Danger, This Mission to Mars Could Bore You to Death, paragraphs 6 or 13, and then we're going to answer the questions and learn about citing evidence. Then we'll talk about that evidence when you come back for group. All right, don't forget to check out an ebook for break, and next week you will have school Monday and Tuesday, okay? All right, so what you will need today is the Friday assignment. If you would, please open up Friday assignment. All right, you click on it. When you click it, it will look like this. All right, so besides the title, Danger, This Mission to Mars Could Bore You to Death, the other thing you should always look at is the questions first. Always look at the questions first. So the first question is, which details about the dangers of boredom were the most convincing? Cite textual evidence. The second question is, which details were the least convincing? Cite textual evidence. And the last one, question 3, based on only this article, should we make a home in space? Why or why not? So you're probably like, what? This sounds hard. It says cite textual evidence. All right. So we are going to prove that boredom is dangerous. Now, if we're going to prove that boredom is dangerous, we need to pull out pieces of information from this article that prove that it's dangerous. Now, some of the pieces are going to be more convincing, like it'll prove your point more. And then some are not going to prove your point very well. Okay, so just like if you were trying to tell your parent why you want something, like, oh, Mom, I really need a PlayStation 5. Well, you had to convince them, right? And some of the reasons why you need it are going to be more stronger of an argument than some of the other reasons. This is the same for all writing of all arguments. So when you are writing an argument, you always need evidence to prove your point. Okay, so while we're reading, you're going to see is boredom really dangerous? And you're going to see are the most convincing reasons why it's super dangerous. And then you're going to find the ones that aren't very convincing. So you're going to find some least convincing arguments. So they still may be convincing, but they're the least convincing. And then this last one, based on this article, should we make a home in space? Why or why not? Only on this article, okay? And you're going to need evidence for that as well. Now, when you use other people's words, you can't present it as though it's your words. You have to present it as it's from the article or from that author, okay? If you don't say that it's from the article or from the author, that's called plagiarism. So you can use other people's words, but you just need to say where you got them from, okay? So when you do that, so let's say that you were going to use a piece of evidence from the text, you just say, according to the text, and then you put that information there. Because you are saying, hey, I didn't write this. The text said this, okay? Or you can write the author or the text stated, either the author stated or the text stated. In this text, it states, based on what I read, and then you put the evidence based on the information I read from the article, and then you kind of put the evidence. And then, for example, so these are ways that you can use evidence from people who know probably a lot more than we do about a topic. And it makes your argument even more convincing because they know what they're talking about. Okay, so you're going to learn how to use these sentence starters. So we'll keep working on that. All right, so for today, before you come to group, we're going to read the article. And just like this, you're going to highlight and annotate arguments that prove boredom is super dangerous. All right, so I'm about to press play. So your job is to find any arguments that boredom is super dangerous. Okay, and you highlight it and you can even make comments. Remember how to do that? Here's the comment button. All right, so you're ready to follow along? I know you are. All right, so we only have like 6 paragraphs to read. You will be fine. We got this. Okay.
Stimulus. It might find something else to do. It daydreams. It wanders.
We're almost
there. It thinks
there.
about itself.
Sorry, guys.
If this goes on for too long, it can affect your mind's normal functioning. Chronic boredom correlates with depression and attention deficits.
All right, now it's time.
Astronaut candidates go through 2 years of training before they're even approved to fly. And before they're chosen to be candidates, they have to compete against thousands of other applicants. The 2013 class, for instance, had more than 6,000 applicants, and only 8 were chosen. Astronauts are rigorously tested for psychological as well as physical fitness. But no mission in NASA's history has raised the specter of chronic boredom to the degree that a Mars mission does, because none have involved such a long journey through nothingness. What if, millions of miles from home, a chronically bored astronaut forgets a certain safety procedure? What if he gets befuddled while reading an oxygen gauge? More important, Dan Curtin-Kring say, bored people are also prone to taking risks, subconsciously seeking out stimulation when their environment bores them. The cognitive and social psychologist Peter Sudfield says that people will sometimes do reckless, stupid things when they suffer from chronic boredom. In Antarctica, where winter can cut scientists and crew off from the rest of the world for as long as 9 months, the isolation can lead to strange behavior. Sudfeld told me he has heard about Antarctic researchers venturing outside in 40 below weather without proper clothing and without telling anyone else they were going out. The diaries of early polar explorers are full of tales of extreme boredom, depression, and desperate attempts at entertainment reminiscent of prisoner stories from solitary confinement. An important lesson that Antarctica can impart on a Mars expedition is this: even scientists on important missions can get excruciatingly bored. One effective way astronauts combat boredom is by staying busy with work. That's a strategy at high seas, where the crew member Kate Green told me that her schedule is packed. Every hour planned and accounted for, from the time she wakes up to the time she goes to bed at night. Life on the International Space Station is similar. In fact, historically, NASA's problem has been overworking people. In 1973, the exhausted crew of Skylab 42 actually staged a relaxation rebellion and took an unscheduled day off. But Antarctica is different from high seas or the International Space Station. Communications are limited. There's nobody outside the base directing your day. Spectacular views vanish in a haze of white. It's just you, the people you came in with, no way out, and little to break up the monotony. And so some researchers have learned to actively fend off boredom by creating what you might call a unique office culture. They celebrate a ridiculous number of holidays, both traditional and invented. You need something to look forward to, Sudfeld says, and planning the events helps change the routine. Even Ernest Shackleton's Antarctic crew found ways to put on skits and concerts. On one expedition, Shackleton brought a small printing press. At McMurdo Station, the 1983 winter crew created costumes, learned lines, and acted out scenes from the movie Escape from New York. It's possible that we may, someday, watch recordings of Mars-bound astronauts acting out other John Carpenter films. It's not so far-fetched. Chris Hadfield, a Canadian astronaut, made a tribute to David Bowie's Space Oddity that racked up more than 16 million views on YouTube. It might sound absurd, but many scientists say strategies like this are necessary because, without proper mental stimulus, we risk making a physically and technologically challenging endeavor into a psychologically grueling one. It would be catastrophic if humanity's greatest voyage were brought low by the mind's tendency to wander when left to its own devices.
All right, so your job is to go back through and make sure you highlighted some reasons that show that the danger of boredom are real and they're bad. Okay. And then see which ones are better reasons that show that boredom is dangerous, and which ones are least convincing that boredom isn't dangerous. They're still showing you that boredom is dangerous, but they're the least convincing. And then you're going to argue, based on this article, should we make a home in space? Why or why not? So go ahead and get started on these prior to coming to group. All right. And then we'll discuss it. All right, partners. So I will see you guys in a bit.